There's parking, but
All right.
and welcome everybody to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. And joining me today on this amazingly cloudy, gray, overcast Ohio day is our Ward 1 representative, Councilwoman Shanette Strickland. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mayor, for inviting me this afternoon. I'm excited to be here with all the listeners and excited to start our conversation. So thank you.
It's always exciting the first part of the year. Everything's kind of new and everything's like, okay, what's going to come up? What's happening? But for us, we get to actually kick things off really well with our second annual Martin Luther King breakfast.
I know.
It's this Saturday. It's already sold out. Sorry, you're out of luck.
Sold out already. So.
It's not the greatest sales pitch in the world, but you know.
But at least people would know what's coming up and hopefully be able to join us maybe next year. Yeah. So.
But it's different because obviously, you know, Dr. King's legacy is so vast. We could spend hours talking about it. But what I like about when I've heard you speak about it, and obviously at last year's function, it's about, you know, yes, we have a day off, but it's a day of service.
It's a day of service, yeah. It's about really getting in your community and working, right? And making sure you're showing up, because that was what Dr. Martin Luther King really cared about, is his community and being a voice for people who may not have a voice, right? For me, when I think about him and his legacy, is really about the justice, right? Making sure you understand that, you know, it's not a time to just stand back. It's a time to step forward and do the work for the people. And that's the legacy that I love so much about Dr. Martin Luther King, and the fact that one of the reasons why I really wanted to bring the breakfast here to Reynoldsburg. A quick story, it was one of our neighbors, constituents, that reached out to me probably back in 2020, 2021. What's going on in Reynoldsburg? Do we have Martin Luther King breakfast? Is there anything going on? And so it really started from that conversation. What can we bring here for our neighbors, our constituents here? And that's how I start working with those that's here at City Hall, other members within our community. I reached out to Pastor John at Reynoldsburg Church, Community Church, had conversations with him, and he said, I always wanted to do something. Yeah. I'm like, well, this is perfect timing. Let's see how we can get this started. And so back in 2022, we ended up canceling our first one because it was a snowstorm. Yep. And we had put so much work in. So I was disappointed, but we came back even better last year in 23. And so we were able to invite so many people, and just to have so many people from our community show up. And it's a free event. Free breakfast, right? And so this year we are, able to offer another free breakfast. We end up getting so many different sponsors. Kitty Academy is one off the top of my head that's really giving back. We end up landing a big sponsorship. I don't know if you, Victoria's Secrets, right here in Reynoldsburg. So this year we are offering just not one scholarship, but 3 scholarship for graduating seniors who really believe in the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so again, that's what I'm just so proud of, all the work that we have done. It's just not me alone. It's everyone coming together and seeing that vision.
And I think, you know, you and I talked a little bit yesterday, and we're at that point right now where anytime that there's an event, whether it's the Tomato Festival or Pride, or in this case, the Martin Luther King Breakfast, everybody's really excited to do the event, but the process before the event is exhausting. And it's
a lot
of work. Oh my goodness. And then you get to the event afterwards. It's kind of like, you know, when people make those big, you know, production, the Thanksgiving Day meal where, you know, you spend so much time getting it ready and then it's over in the blink of an eye and you're like, really? Right. But we're going to be excited about it. I'm looking forward to that happening this Saturday. And again, we have a lot of partners, a lot of cooperation all the way across. Yes. But this is just a small part of what you do. You are in constant communication with your constituents.
Yes.
Facebook, emails, phone calls, honestly walking around the neighborhoods.
In Kroger's.
Everything.
Absolutely.
How's that helped you kind of get an idea of like what concerns, or really, and sometimes it's not even concerns, sometimes it's just, hey, I want to know what's going on.
Right.
Not everybody watches a 12 o'clock show. I'm not sure why.
Dang.
But for those that don't, I mean, how does this help you do what you need to do as a council member?
Yeah, as a council person, my number one job is really making sure that I am listening to who, my constituents, my neighbors, on what they would like to see here in Reynoldsburg. And again, we're going to learn to, and I've learned over these last couple of years, we're going to agree to disagree on certain things, right? And it's okay. But making sure that we continue the conversations, being open about, understanding how someone else may feel about a situation, and then finding ways on how we can still get work done. Let's work on those things that we agree on, and that's going to always be my number one goal. Someone said, hey, we need to have our parks need to be improved, right? What about these roads? We won't have things here to do in Reynoldsburg. Okay, let's get together then. Let's start those conversations. And I think we've been doing a great job on trying to find things here in Reynoldsburg to do for our neighbors, and also find an opportunity for our neighbors to be able to come out and enjoy events such as the Martin Luther King event.
There you go. Except this year you can't go. It's already sold out.
It's already sold out. So hopefully you have your ticket.
Now, if somebody wanted, let's say that sometimes this happens, they see you at a grocery store and they're like, oh, I don't want to bother them there. What's the best way to get in contact with you if they have a question or a concern, or they want to, what's the easiest and most efficient way?
So for me, being a council person, I know it's not a 9 to 5, right? Mm-hmm. We're out in the community all the time. Stop me in the grocery store,
okay,
right? Just say, hey, how you doing, Councilwoman Strickland? Or, I just have a couple of questions. I'm okay with that. Because again, I want to make sure that I am listening to my constituents when it comes to anything. But the best place to reach me is on my cell phone number, 929-430-6802, or my email address, s.stricklandforreynoldsburg@gmail.com. But if you see me out in the community, just ask me a question. Either I'm going to have the information or not, but I will get back in contact with you. So I'm always going to be open to that.
Yeah, it's a lot of good things going on. Now, we have a lot of projects that are coming up. I've been joking this year is kind of the year of Wagner Road and the service building. Those are like the two big projects. But other than the projects and obviously than this weekend's event, is there an event out there that is just like that you just like being a part of, even though maybe it's not one that's like everybody knows about or everybody comes to, or is it the Tomato Fest? Like, what's your favorite thing?
For real, really, yeah. The Tomato Festival is my number one event, because I've lived here 17, almost 18 years in Reynoldsburg, and when I, out at the Tomato Festival, and people say, "I never been to a tomato festival." Mm-hmm. I'm like, really? Well, how long have you lived here? 25 years, but I never came. And so for me, it's like, really, but I'm glad you're here. Mm-hmm. So being out in community, the Tomato Festival, there's so many great things that's going on. For me, it's one of the best events that we get on, here at in Reynoldsburg. So yes, the Tomato Festival is the best, and so I'm eager to find out who we're going to have.
I was just waiting. So all these nice things.
So even us as council president, city council member, we do not even know who is going to be on, presenting or for the music act until everybody else kind of knows. So, but yeah, so I'm excited to find out.
Well, it's one of those things where it's never a simple process. So there's always a very large list, and then we go through it and we get a couple ideas about, okay, maybe this group for this night, this group for that night, that group for another night. And then we have to go through and figure out, okay, well, where are these, where are these acts going to go? I mean, we joked a couple of years ago when we wanted In Vogue, and then they ended up participating and going with, for whatever reason, the New Kids on the Block tour that they went throughout the United States. I don't know why they chose that instead of the Tomato Festival, but sometimes we don't know those things until. So, we usually have a kind of a general idea of like 3 or 4 bands, for each night that we want to make sure that we appeal to our entire community. Yes. And so then the question is, okay, which ones are available? Which one fits within the cost structure that we're looking at? And then, how is it that we can get them here? So, but you'll find out eventually once we have everything all kind of confirmed. So with that, I'm going to ask, do we have any questions from our audience out there just yet? All right. Well, there you go. Well, I've got a lot of information to go over if you want to stick around for a little bit.
Absolutely, Mayor.
So at last Monday's council, it was the shortest council meeting that'll probably be the entire year. We were done by about 7:15, so it's awesome when it's that done. Yes. So we basically, everybody, the council president, Lawson Rowe, assigned committee chair position, or assigned committees, and then individual groups, they decided to pick the chair and the co-chair. So for the Development, Parks, and Recreation Committee, so this is anything that comes with, kind of like those fun things that we can try and bring into the community or offerings in our Parks Department. The chair will be Louis Salvati, and the vice chair will be Councilman Barth Kottner. For Public Safety, Law, and Court, so this is anything doing with typically our police department, anything that goes along with that. Its chairperson will be Councilmember Boone Packerell, and vice chair will be Mildred Johnson. And then continuing in this one, because both of those were new, continuing in this one, and I think you really wanted to hold on to this one.
I do.
You really, the Public Service and Transportation. You're the chair for that.
I know. So I'm thankful that I remain the chair of the Public Service and Transportation Committee, because I really have learned so much, right? Working with the service directors, different people within City Hall, getting out speaking to our neighbors about what's going on with our street plan, our sidewalk plan, Wagner Road. And so you have the opportunity to learn so much. We're not in this day to day, but having those opportunities to speak with different people about, hey, my street is messed up. How can I get in contact with our director to find out when our street's going to be fixed? So again, having those open conversations. So I'm still excited to chair that committee.
I remember you said that when we bring that service building to you.
I know, right?
So we're getting close. Well, it'll be one of those things. We've seen I think the way that they've described it is the interior and the exterior is set at this point. So I think now we're just going to make sure that we get all of our I's dotted and T's crossed and things like that. It's going to be a very striking building, but incredibly productive in terms of how it is designed to maximize space, to make sure that we're not just building for what we have right now, but we're going to make sure we have some space for the future. But then it's also partnerships with the Truro Township Fire Department, the school district, RPD, so that everybody's going to get their fuel from that particular location, all sorts of other things going on with it. So not much longer, and you'll see that. And then finally, the Finance and Administration Committee. The chair is Councilman Stacy Baker, and the vice chair is Councilman Boone Packerell. So those are our committees. So the reality is, if somebody has a question about any one of these particular topics, it doesn't mean you can only contact, if you have a question about transportation or roads, it doesn't mean that they only can contact you. Absolutely. It just means ultimately you're the chair of that position, so that's something that goes on. Right. It doesn't, and you don't have to just refer to it, or if only talk about an issue that's in Ward 2 and you have no one to talk about. You can still contact any member of council. They'll deal with it accordingly. It just happens to be that the way that the system is broken down is everybody in Ward 1. That's kind of like your, I guess you'd say you're in that one level deeper into kind of what goes on in that particular area.
Absolutely.
So, well, you're going to learn about this and a whole lot more about what we're planning to do for 2024 at the State of the City address. That is going to be February 15th. That's a Thursday night. Doors are going to open at 6:30. The presentation will begin at about 7 o'clock. Probably be a Q&A session to follow, because you know me, I love to answer questions from everybody. But we're going to do a couple of things differently. We're going to try and spice things up a little bit with the State of the City this year, and make it more of a communal event all the way across. But we're really looking forward to that. It is open to the public. We do plan on broadcasting it, so that way everyone can see it, even if they don't want to make it in. But it's a well-attended event. A lot of people go there, and it gets people, there's a little bit of excitement. Obviously, we're going to talk about some of the things that are already in process, but hopefully we'll have some new things to talk about where we're going forward over the next few years. So I invite everybody to that.
Yeah, please come out.
And with that, our good partners over at the Reynoldsburg City Schools, they also had their organizational meeting, which took a little bit longer than what council did. But they identified President Angela Abram will be returning to that role. New vice president, as Debbie Dunlap is no longer on the board. Jenny Quesenberry is going to be our vice president for the school district. And then the city liaison, again, President Abram drew the short straw, so she's going to be the city liaison representative again. So she and I get to meet every, at least once a month, if not more so, talking about ways that we can kind of collaborate. And I joke, she actually was enthusiastic about it, or at least that's what she told me. And that's what I'm going with. And I know one of the other big questions has come up, and I know you know a little bit about this. It's a program that is basically, we'll have our own designation for it, but it's See, Click, Fix. It's our individual program all the way across for residents if they're walking and they see a street light out. If they're walking and they see potholes or something like that, they can actually use their cell phone and scan and do all that stuff. So we had our great meeting yesterday. It looks to go live in 30 days.
Okay.
So our internal staff is basically, most everybody has been finished up in training. There's going to be a couple of weeks where we're doing some beta testing. So it'll be some of the people around in the building that'll kind of go through and, like, if we all of a sudden see a street light out and we do it and then it gets reported to Parks and Recreation, then we know we have to do some software work. It shouldn't be that way, but we're going to try and get the bugs out. So for those of you that have been asking about See, Click, Fix, about 30 days, about a month from now. We do have a roads update. Obviously, there's not a lot of road construction going on at this time of the year.
In the winter, right?
However, if the weather forecasters ever get it right when there's a big snowfall, because I know this past weekend they were talking about a lot of snow and there wasn't. But if there is, new policies are in place this year that we're going to be basically going out and plowing even our residential areas when there's 2 or more inches of snow. But I need your help. Please, if there's going to be snow on the ground and the weather forecast says 2 inches or plus, try as best you can to get those cars off the roads. Put them in the driveway, put them in the garage if you can. The only reason I say that is because it is a lot easier and faster for us to get our plows through. And it makes it so we don't block cars in snow that are on the streets. So that's one thing that I asked with that. We're also going to be having a new GPS system installed. So basically people are going to be able to log on and they'll be able to follow our snow warriors as they go through to kind of get an idea of where they've been and things like that. And then obviously you've seen some of the pictures from our school district. It was incredibly cool that our elementary schools designed some of our plows this year.
That was really nice.
We're looking forward to it. I'd like to continue to do that every year to give those kids an opportunity to be there. In reality, I think they're just sprinkling a little bit of magic on the plows to make sure that they have at least 1 or 2 snow days a year. I know as a former teacher, there's nothing better than having that snow day. So, how about this? If we have snow days, we'll clear the rest of the roads off so nobody else has to worry about it, but the kids get the day off of school.
Absolutely.
So all of those things are going on, and obviously our parks program. This is, again, the beginning of the year. Our heirloom has opened up, and everybody's signing up for everything. We've got baseball, softball, we've got t-ball, soccer, superhero versions for all of those particular sports. Plus, we have adult league information. We have adult cornhole. There's going to be a bingo night coming up. We have a daddy-daughter sweetheart night. The Puzzle Palooza, which obviously is going to be a little bit fun with puzzles. Some tumbling, and obviously Safety Town. And a new one this time is an adult euchre league. I don't know if you've ever played euchre.
No, I have not.
So it's one of those things where if you play euchre, you're fine and you're happy about it. And if you've never played euchre, then I know people go, oh my goodness, that is a complex game. It's not a really hard game to get, but you lose friends when you play euchre sometimes, just because it's a partner thing and things like that. Most of the time you don't lose your partner, but every now and then, if you've ever played it, there's a way that you can basically go alone to get all the points.
Oh, really?
And it's one of those, it's one of those things that can be interesting. And then again, if you don't get it, then your partner's very mad at you. So. But it's a lot of fun. Again, something for people to do. Yeah. It's an opportunity that's out there. So if you're interested in any of those amazing activities, check out our Parks and Recs page or look at the Heirloom magazine that was sent out, and hopefully everybody still has that from just a couple of weeks ago. As far as development goes, we talk about service.
Yes. We
have an opening on our Planning and Zoning Board. So one of our members is resigning. He and his wife are going to be retiring off to a different area of Ohio, and so that will open up a position. Planning and Zoning is an independent board that interprets our zoning code that when somebody comes in and they want to build something, anything from as simple as a fence on a corner lot, for instance, or if they're doing something beyond that, like this would be the Alliance or what's going in where the old Happy Dragon used to be, to make sure that all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and we're following all the rules. And those are that's that particular thing. And if there's something that somebody wants that is denied by our zoning code, then they have the chance to appeal. So do you have to have a background in construction or law or any of those things? You don't necessarily have to, but it does make it a little bit easier if you're familiar with it, because you're going to be talking about the quality of materials that are going to be going in. You're going to be talking about anything from like how big the entry and exit ways are, parking spots and things like that. So you want to kind of make sure, but at the same time, you have to be a resident of Reynoldsburg, because these are the things that are going to be coming to us. Yes. And you want to make sure that we get this stuff right. So if you are interested, you need to have a cover letter and a resume, and you can send it to Eric Meyer, who's our Director of Development. If you're interested in that, you can check it out on our Facebook page. There'll probably be a post in the not too distant future on that, or you can go ahead and reach out to the development department as well. That application window will be open for a couple of weeks. He'll set up a meeting with you to discuss, and then at some point in time, then we'll bring it to council for approval as we go through. We don't have any meetings in January, so usually that first meeting in January, nobody's ever doing anything. And we don't have anything for the second meeting on the 18th. However, February is already starting to get filled, so we do want to make sure we get somebody relatively soon. Do we have any questions about anything so far?
No.
We're doing a good job of not getting any questions.
No,
We'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take it.
And again, litter cleanup is always a good thing. You know, we always talk about that. Obviously, today's probably not the best day to pick up litter, but if you want to, we have the tools that you can do it. You can just register with the city and get your trash pickers, some garbage bags, gloves, things like that. But if you'd rather wait until it's a little warmer, absolutely. We're still accepting applications for the 2024 street program for the Adopt a Road program. So if you're interested in that, you can get your organization's name. We have the Boy Scouts and a couple of other organizations throughout the city that go out on a regular basis to clean up litter all the way throughout. And with that, that's really kind of all I got. Any questions that have come in? Because usually what ends up happening is I start getting into my wrap-up speech, and that's when
everyone have a question, right?
Yep. So we have a bunch of things going on. So next week we'll actually have Franklin County Director of Public Health, Joe Mazzola, is going to come on.
It's
going to be a good show. He's always bringing good information, but usually it's always something that's related to something bad. So I got sick over Christmas, in between Christmas and New Year's, and it was one of those things. It wasn't COVID, but it could have been the flu or something. It's just something that just it was not a good experience. So I'm feeling better about it, but that stuff is still out there. COVID is still out there. The RSV is still out there. The flu strain is still out there. So he's going to come in and talk a little bit about those things, but also other things that the Franklin County Department of Health does for us, which includes we have the traps when mosquitoes come. I know I'm talking about mosquitoes and it's 20 degrees outside. But when mosquitoes are coming, if there's a West Nile virus case, then they come out and they spray the areas. Right. And so that's part of the partnership that goes on with it. So it's always a good thing. So we're looking forward to having Joe on the show next week. But beyond that, everyone, please stay safe. Be respectful as always. Even if you don't really enjoy the fact that the team up north won the national championship, give those few people that are there, give them their moment, because you never know what next year will bring. But as always, stay safe, stay respectful, and we'll see you all after you put your shopping carts away. Bye, everybody.